So everybody, please click on chart 3.5 and then click on next. Now, did you do it? All right. Now, Rebecca. Okay, let's look at capacity utilization. Yeah, well, that's why I want to go on to something else, because.
Awesome. Okay, let's do that.
Okay, yeah. All right, now let me ask you a question, Rebecca. Listen up. Between 1975 and 1978, was capacity utilization rising or falling?
1975 and 1978.
Yeah, was it rising or falling? Rising. In other words, was the economy getting hotter or colder?
75% hotter.
Hotter, right? In other words, we're using more of our capacity, right? We're producing more. Okay. Now, let's go back to productivity. What was happening to the change in productivity those years? It was heading south. So my question to you is this. Capacity utilization is rising. Capacity utilization is rising. The change in productivity is diminishing. Or you could say the increase in productivity is diminishing, and you can see eventually goes negative. Why? We just covered it, right? We covered it. So what's going on? Give me the, how many people saw the movie What About Bob? Great movie. Remember What About Bob? What was your favorite scene, Mike? In What About Bob? You're going to like this, Rebecca.
Okay.
My favorite scene in What About Bob is when Bob blows up his therapist's house.
Oh, that's right. Richard Dreyfuss, right?
Who knows?
And Bill Murray, I did see it.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Remember, he accidentally blows up his therapist's house? It was worth a laugh. Okay, now, but who was the therapist? Whoever the therapist was
Richard Dreyfuss.
that what was his mantra? What did he keep on repeating to Bill Murray, the guy receiving the therapy? What would he keep on repeating? What was his constant advice? Yes, you do. You remember. Baby steps. Remember baby steps? Okay, Rebecca, baby steps. So what's going on here? In other words, we're pushing the economy to the limit, but efficiency is falling. Why? Because we don't have enough time to inspect, maintain, repair, and therefore we're getting more breakdown and so on, and you can push it. We're operating overtime. People are working at night, they're working too long. You know, it's just the old, we're pushing too hard, and therefore we're getting less efficient.
So this is deferred maintenance, right? We don't have time to.
Yeah, that's one way to. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, deferred maintenance. Yes, I think you could call it that. Yeah, you could. Yes, call it deferred maintenance. Sure, call it deferred maintenance. Although very often when we think of deferred maintenance, you're thinking about like things in buildings. You don't. I don't know what. You don't, let's say, shampoo the rugs or something, which is every year. This is more immediate. It's more immediate, but so I don't know what the technical word is. But it's the same concept. It's the same concept. anyway, so the economy becomes less efficient, right? And by the way, when the economy becomes less efficient, what happens to costs? They go up, exactly. And if costs go up long enough, what will happen to prices? Inflation. So the old economy was periodic bursts of inflation. Push the economy too hard? Well, let's go baby steps. Okay, let's do it, baby steps. Number one, step number one, demand grows. Step number two, production grows. Step number three, capacity utilization goes two letters. The first is U, the second is P. You want another hint?
Yeah. 500.
That's right, up. So capacity utilization goes up. Okay, now if capacity utilization goes up, what happens to productivity? And if productivity falls, costs go, and therefore prices go. Now, and you can even cut the steps finer. For instance, along the way, as the costs come up from below and bump the prices up, what happens to profit margins? They're obviously squeezed because competitive pressure at first prevents management from raising prices, and eventually management has to raise prices because of the squeeze, because everybody else feels the squeeze, right? So does everybody understand the dynamic? So if you just say to an ordinary person, if you say, well, why do prices rise? You say, well, anytime demand exceeds supply, prices rise. But if you go to management and say, why did you raise your prices? Management says, well, we raised our prices because our costs went up. Well, how do you mesh the supply and demand answer, the cost answer? Well, baby steps. See, that we're going back to that movie, baby steps. Watch that movie tonight. So, demand up. Maybe step 5 or 6 or whatever is prices up. Demand up, production up, capacity utilization up, productivity down, costs up, prices up. See? And along the way, profit squeeze. See? Now, the new economy advocates say that's the old economy, right? That's what. Now we are launching into an economy in the 90s that has endless productivity increases. And those endless productivity increases are going to hold capacity utilization down, and therefore we're not going to have any problems with productivity. Productivity is going to keep on going up, up, up. And as productivity goes up, 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 we're not going to worry about prices going up, and we're still going to have robust profit margins, because even if prices are here, the costs are going to fall away. We're going to have monster profit margins. Blue sky forever. And therefore, people wrote books with titles like Dow 36,000, Dow 100,000. Do you remember? 10 years ago, there were books with those titles. It was going to be just blue sky forever. Well, so much for that, right? Does everybody understand? I'm trying to weave all these things together here, see? Yeah, Mike.
Question. The chart that I was asking you about before, where it has the unit labor costs going up.
Yeah.
Right now we have inflation. I think we had the first year of no inflation since '55. So a lot of that, I think a lot of the prices that are passed on to consumers has to do with demand. If demand falls off the cliff, then you may not be able to raise your prices that much.
Well, let me parse this a little. Baby steps again. We had the threat of rising prices, of course, a year or two ago, as you recall, during the last phase of the boom. I mean, the most notorious example of that was fuel prices. And there were other prices. But lately, prices have been moderating.